I learned a lot about interviewing on this one, and it was very challenging as an American to go to Japan, go to Hiroshima and interview people. When I first interviewed Miss Okada and her daughter, I asked them, when was the first time you talked to each other about your experience as a survivor after the bombing? And they both looked at each other and they said, well, we've never talked about it. And I sat there and went, okay, now where do I go with this interview? They've never talked about it. And then I thought, well, how fascinating, because my mother and I never talked about it. And I have a feeling they've talked about it a little bit more since the interview. I also let my mother interview me. She asked me, what was it about our family that made me want to ask these questions? We talked about how putting a camera between us and asking the questions gave us this way to ask the questions, you know, and ask other questions. And she said, well, what things about our family history that you don't know about that you want to know? And then I did. I asked her, I said, well, we never talked about the fact that my grandmother was an alcoholic. And she's like, yeah, she was. And then we talked about that for a little bit. And that was the first time we even acknowledged that. It's one thing to make a film. It's another thing to make a film about your mother. And it's another thing to put yourself in the film and have it expose your own personal story. And whether you're in it or not, it's really about you as a filmmaker, too, that you have to promote. And that was new to me.